Hey, welcome to Jesus Loves Joe. I am Jerry.
I'm Hope.
I'm Liana.
And I'm Steven.
Today, we are going to be talking about social media, and it is our episode 1, you could say, when it comes to this, because we're going to do a follow-up episode. Now, today we do have, as you see, Steven and Liana and my beautiful wife, Hope, with us here today. But because of the blessing and the presence of them right now, we're going to ask them some social media questions and what it looks like with Scripture and as believers. My first question is to both of you guys. What's it like being heavily involved in social media as well as, first and foremost, being a Christian? What does that look like for you guys? First thing that comes to your mind.
New. I mean, all of human history hasn't had social media, but we've had Christianity for a long, long time. So figuring out what that looks like on social media is a very new landscape and still something I think everyone's trying to figure out.
And for those who don't know us and what we do social media as a job, just for some clarification. And so navigating what this whole world looks like, it's also a new career and just navigating all that and people taking you seriously versus not taking you seriously. And, you know, there's a lot that comes with that, but I don't know. It's kind of a fun little avenue that we have going on here.
I think there's this big struggle that people have with social media because they think that social media is different than any other space for some reason. They're like, hey, you're on social media. That means you should use your voice to say things.
Right.
Right. But like, I don't go into the supermarket and just start spewing stuff randomly. Right. I also, for us, it's work, right? I don't go into the workplace and start spewing stuff randomly. HR will have something to say about that.
Right.
Right. But for some reason, because there's a platform and there's eyes at social media, people like immediately expect that social media isn't just like most other social places that are in the real world. They assume it's something that we need to use for like some greater purpose to affect people and change their minds. And I think that's important. We'll talk about that. But it's not, it's like what people think you're supposed to do. And social media is significantly bigger than that or different than that too.
Right on.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's valid points.
All right. Great intro. Now, with your Bible open right there, would you mind reading? This comes out of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, and it's verses 19 through 23.
No problem.
And
One second.
Just got her glasses out. She's ready.
yeah, she's ready.
I am reading 1 Corinthians 9, 19 through 23, like you just said. For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win more of them. To the Jews I became a Jew, in order to win Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, though not being myself under the law, that I might win those under the law. To those outside the law I became as one outside the law, not being outside of the law of God, but under the law of Christ, that I might win those outside the law. To the weak I became weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all people, that by all means I might save some. I do it all for the sake of the gospel, that I may share with them in its blessings.
Amen.
That's good. I feel like that's going to be
So
great to go off of.
I like to think of that. Paul's not compromising truth there, right?
I think he says it in that. Maybe I'm thinking of a different verse, but I think right at the beginning he like literally it's in parentheses somewhere in there, right?
Yes.
Do you see it in there? No.
Well, there's lots of parentheses in it.
Yeah, there's there.
So this is actually a strategic move by Paul. He's given a strategy here. He's like, this is how you can reach. Now, you guys keyed in on this already. You mentioned social media not being a soapbox. You don't go into the grocery store and start spewing stuff. We don't.
Correct.
Well, we're not supposed to do that on social media either. But it has become that.
Sure.
You know, we see that a lot. So how can social media be leveraged in y'all's eyes? And I don't want to say, are we late bloomers when it comes to social media? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though we sit on social media right now with this podcast. Like when we look at the I don't want to say the age gap, but there is the age gap, technology gap here. You know, we see social media one way. You know, when it comes to this, what Paul just said, what do y'all see and hear in that?
In relation to the verse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first, I want to say that I don't know if there is a social media gap. There's a technology gap.
Okay. Yeah.
But every single person, unless you live off the grid, is affected by what happens on social media
Okay.
nowadays. Right. And I know that people, when they get behind a phone on their social media, make the decision that I'm going to be the purest form of myself. That's like people's default thing, but they do that nowhere else in their life. We talk about this all the time. Like behind a screen, you're willing to say things that you're not willing to say in person. You know what I mean? But they do the opposite of what Paul is saying. They're like, I'm gonna get online, and this is my place in my time to just be the worst parts of me.
Well, it's either I'm going to say the worst things possible, or I'm going to put the best persona of myself
Which
forward.
is the opposite, right?
Yeah, that's what I see a lot of.
Many people, men and women. I would say, I would
is
argue
kind of the
maybe more women.
And
They're always posting the prettiest photos, the best vacations. It's everything that's perfect to showcase how perfect I am, and not showcase any sort of faults or,
I would argue that's the worst part of them. And what I mean by that is like people get to kind of control what they want, but Paul actually says the opposite. Like, if you want to be an effective human, not just a Christian, but a human, right? You need to be all things to all people, right? If I'm in a room with Jerry, I'm going to talk about and like relate to him in ways that he and I can relate, and I'm going to do that differently with Mom. And if I tried to relate to my mother the way I relate to Jerry, we're not going to have a great relationship.
That's my son, by the way.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Check.
Yeah.
That's not a nickname.
And Paul understands that, but it takes the opposite mindset when you log onto your phone and get on Instagram to ask the question, not what do I want to do and what do I want to say, but how do I relate in the social media space I'm in? And so the real question then comes to, like, what actually is social media? And because of that, how do I actually be a witness on social media? And you've got to understand what it is and who you're talking to whenever you're doing whatever you're doing, or who you're posting to, or who's following you, before you can be effective.
I feel like people would answer that differently.
It's different
Probably.
for everyone.
Yeah,
Probably.
okay, right.
Yeah.
So maybe the thought process is, what is it to you, right? Because it is different to different people.
And to be clear, there are people who say what they think on social media, and people follow them for that, and that's actually a good thing, and it's effective.
Right.
But that's because that's the reason that's because people came to them for that in the first place. If I don't follow Jerry to hear his opinion, I'm not going to listen to his opinion when he posts it.
That's right.
Right? And that's very, very important.
Yep, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why there's a lot of successful Christian influencers, if you will, because there is a whole space for Christian influence, and that's where, like, as a Christian, you want to go follow those people because you get filled up that way. But then there's other influencers who have other hobbies. It's animals. It's farm lifestyle. It's,
That could happen.
That could happen.
So that brings this point up. When we think about how we lead on social media, because we're leading, we'll get into the whole discipleships part of social media here in a few, but things that I post on social media personally, it could be on the church's social media channels or whatever, islands, platforms, or personal stuff, family stuff. Everything comes back to me being accountable for what I put out there. So, not that this happens, but say the church sermons are out here, and then there's another space that I'm just totally opposite of that. What does that say about, and that can happen, in the prior to social media, it was something else, you were acting one way in public and different way at church kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Not that doesn't happen still,
No, it does.
Now it's like social media, it's like, but isn't that guy a pastor? What's he doing over here doing this? Or she's a Christian actress. What is she over there
Why is
doing?
she doing that?
Yeah, or whatever. So I don't know. What is that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think to that and to what you said, it being different for different people. There's no answer to what being a Christian means on social media in the sense of, like, this is the exact way you should act.
Yeah.
Just like there's no answer to what being a Christian looks like in the Middle East versus what being a Christian looks like in Burnet, Texas.
Right.
Two very, very different things. And that's Paul's whole point with this verse. So Jerry, who's a pastor, right, the way he needs to act on social media because of the people that are looking at him is very different than the way Liana acts on social media.
Yeah.
Like Liana, a couple months ago, I think across your platforms had over 1 million views. And there's Christians that would criticize us for saying, why haven't we talked about Jesus on those platforms in that way? And not that you've never done that.
No,
right?
I have. But
there's a reason.
My job isn't being a pastor. Like that
right.
is your job. And I feel very called to not be a pastor or talk about politics or certain things that are very hot button topics on social media. I've been very clear, and like God's been very clear with me, just be an entertainer. Just make people happy. Just bring people emotion and joy and that. And so I take that very seriously. And that's, for me, I've been pressured many, many, many times to use your platform, this, and that. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm going to be doing with that. But that's not to say that I won't ever talk about Jesus, which I will, but I do it strategically because I don't want to be someone who's shoving Christianity down people's throats. Very passionate about timing is very important, and with earning people's trust for them to listen to you.
Correct. I think trust is the key thing. Where I was actually gonna go with this is that, like, Liana doesn't have the trust of all couple million people who follow her, right? They follow her because they trust that she's going to do something entertaining. But if she came out and started saying you should follow Jesus or criticizing people for being sinful, all they're going to do is unfollow her, and it's going to be completely ineffective, right? But what does happen, right, is people are impacted by Liana and they listen to her, and in private channels and in other places they're affected by her, or they go research and they learn who Liana is and that she's following Jesus, and they start to consider that herself. God is powerful to use what she does in the ways he wants to use it, right, in the ways he's called her to. But if she just said what she thought, that wouldn't be effective, and Paul wants us to be effective. And that applies to people who don't have millions of followers. That applies to someone who has 15 followers, but those 15 followers are a certain subset of people, right? If you want to be an example and a witness to them and honor God to them, you need to interact with those 15 people in the same way you'd interact with them to their face, right?
Good transition. Yeah, you just kind of answered it, but we interact with folks on social media. You know, it might be a personal than maybe church kind of stuff, but like, what are your thoughts on the interacting? Because you're my FaceTime girl. You know, you like side by side FaceTime, and that's something that's happened. We've retracted, you know, and we now stay home. You know, when the world shut down, everything did. I mean, even church became remote. You know, all these things are now remote. Relationships are remote. Now, how does that impact you when you think of that? You know?
Are we getting into next week's topic? I'm not sure, but
I don't know. We got to answer it a little bit.
Taste a little bit. Answer
You got to answer just a little bit of it. Just a little bit.
I wasn't even reading that as what we're going to talk about. And then you said that, I was like, oh, yeah.
Okay, well, tell me quick. You can't give all the answers away though.
well, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I'm a very slow, like, I'm not a big social media user. Right? Social media is not the way I communicate. I don't put a lot of stuff out there. I might just share a few things. Obviously, we're on a podcast, and
It's true.
but God,
That's what the cameras are for.
so God makes you do things you're not always comfortable with, but it isn't about this platform. It is kind of this. What does the audience want to know? So for me, I'm very intentional relationally, and so I use social media the same way. I try to, like, I'm intentional. I like my FaceTime with people. I like my side by side people. But I also want to be intentional with social media as well. Like, there's a good message, and I want to, put it out there. But, I would say, I think I am the same person that I put out there that I truly am. And one thing I would say for you, Liana, it's not that you're not. You actually do have this conscience side of you when you choose your content. So yes, you're all, you want to make people laugh, you want to bring them joy, that kind of thing. But there's limits to what you will do. And she does not, try to cross those lines to take people. You won't hear,
So
some
that's
things. I won't call out the specific
guys are-
things
Yeah.
you won't
Well,
hear, but
that's adapting without compromising.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's many roles that I have not taken in my acting career because of those lines. And it's the same thing. Those same themes carry into social media. It's not that I'm hating on other people who are choosing to do those things. I'm not personally going to do that. And that's okay. That's just who I am. Those are my morals. Those are my convictions. And I think a lot of times that you see Christians attack other Christians because their morals and convictions are different on social media. And I always have to just look at my heart and go, where am I? How am I with God? Am I at peace with making these decisions? And if I am at the end of the day, then I feel like I'm doing it right or well. That makes sense.
Yes, we talked about that in Romans not too long ago about any action moved forward in faith. Who are we to judge?
Yeah.
Right. And so,
Right, and you guys even mentioned, I think in our previous podcast last summer maybe, that you guys had friends that you never told them you were Christians. And when they found out, they were kind of surprised, yet they kind of weren't because of their character. And so that's what I kind of see you talking about here as a consumer of social media and as a producer of social media, that you are thinking about the audience and what the audience that you've captured, wants to see.
You brought up it's a good thought, and it's getting my brain going, and it got me going back to what you said a minute or two ago about you only having, like, you're not using social media that much. You probably don't have like a ton of people outside of your real life community that actually even sees what you do, and you try to be yourself on social media. All that's fantastic, right? A lot of people are like that. Not everyone is either spewing stuff online or only putting the perfect version of them out. Like some people are just existing online. Right, and that's good. I think the overall message is to just simply go, like, all social media is another space where I connect with the people in my life.
right.
Right, and if I want to be a witness, if that's my heart and that's my desire, my job isn't to post a bunch of Jesus stuff. My job isn't to not post a bunch of Jesus stuff. My job is to continue to build the relationship I have with them online that I have with them offline, so that one day, when they're in need and they're looking for someone to trust, they trust you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's really your job as a human on social media. I think 90% of Christianity in 2025 or 2026 revolves around building trust with people, which we'll talk about in the next week's thing, but how much social media shaped culture. And the short answer, really quick, the spoiler is that social media has created a world where you can't convince anyone of anything anymore. Right? Because they can find out whatever they want.
Right.
And so because of that, the only way to actually get to someone's heart and mind nowadays is trust.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And you've got to build trust on social media as much as you do in real life to get them to listen to you in the first place.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that relates to what Paul was saying.
Yep. That's it. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. That kind of wrapped it up. I wish I had more to say, more to put y'all on the spot about. Any thoughts from you, Mom? Hope?
No, I said my thoughts.
You did? Okay. Well, that is
I
part
do have a
one.
question.
She has a question.
I do
on the
have a
side,
question.
So it's okay.
I do
Hang
have
on.
one question that people might be thinking about.
Okay.
Okay, so because there are other people that dabble in social media, and there's all these metrics out there.
Yeah.
And so how do you not let the metrics discourage you?
Like like a followers and
Yeah, all those things.
yeah.
I have some good thoughts on that.
Go for it.
Okay, so if we're transitioning from I'm someone who's just a person on social media to I'm trying to make social media a job or something like that, right?
Yeah.
There are two sides to it. There's I'm doing it because I want to be more popular, right? Just as like that's my heart. I want more people to like me. I'd say that's a bad attitude, right?
Probably.
I don't think that's biblical, right? But if you're like, hey, I want to turn this into a business. I want to work hard. I want to be successful. Innately, you have to get more followers and more
That's right.
views and more engagement to do it. Like our job is constantly how do we get more views? Not because we're selfish, right? But it's our job. It's how we be effective. It's how we provide a value to the people who pay us to do it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's not just us. We have a team.
Christ
and
calls us to excel at our jobs, right?
Yeah, and so like it's not just us. And since we also have a team, we also want to make our team money. Like we want to help their livelihoods as well. So it's not just us that we're looking after.
Here's the heart that is different. The heart is I'm doing social media to serve me, or I'm doing social media to serve my audience. If you want to turn it into a job, the question you're asking today is how do I make better content so that my audience likes what I'm doing more, so that they're happy, right? I want to leave my audience feeling fulfilled. Even if I'm making cat videos, I want my audience to have
Nothing wrong with cat videos.
You don't go to Apple and then try and buy a computer and leave with like a can of jelly beans, right?
That's right.
And that sounds kind of dumb.
Or a PC.
But you don't go to... People didn't come to the cat YouTuber to watch something else.
That's right.
Right? And that YouTuber's job is to serve the people who showed up to watch whatever they wanted to watch. And so if your heart is just simply, I want to serve the people who show up to what I do, right? That's a godly heart, right? It's no different than any other business.
Sounds
right?
like good customer service.
It's good customer service.
Yeah.
But if your heart is, this in some way, shape, or form is building me up to be this great, prideful person, right? Like that's the wrong
heart
mindset.
motive. Yes.
And to be clear, in doing this, that temptation will always exist. It always feels good to get a ton of views. It always feels good to
Definitely
see
an
the
ego
metrics
boost.
go up.
Yes.
It's really cool.
But it's awesome.
It's really cool. Not gonna lie.
that core why is the difference between doing it in a godly way versus not doing it.
And I feel like if you start off with option one and you're like, I want to get more popular, which that was how I started out, because who as a 13-year-old girl in middle school going into high school, that's like why I started acting, was like, I want attention, I want to be popular, la da 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 da. That doesn't mean that you can't transition your heart to the other thing and be like, wait, I actually want to entertain people. Actually, I want to bring better customer service, if you will, to others. And how can I serve God in what I'm doing? And that's been like a fun transition that we've
Our
gone
conversations majorly over the years have turned from how do we do something we want to do to how do we find the thing our audience actually wants.
Yeah. It's been cool to watch that evolve in them.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, sorry. The last one I was thinking of that one.
Okay. Well, what a way to wrap it up. That is episode 1, I guess you could say, first part of our social media podcast. We'll catch the second one coming up soon. We thank you guys so much for being here, being supporters of Jesus Loves Joe, and come visit the bookstore here in Burnet. We'll see you guys soon.